So I welcome everyone for today's session on improving memory in the age of forgetfulness. This topic is of crucial importance, not only just because our students need to score, but especially we as teachers really need to represent the vast body of knowledge, skills, values that we have within our hearts at the right time, in the right manner, in the right candidate. So today's session will be going through a brief on what is this age of forgetfulness that we are talking about, and especially how our memory works and how are we to harness it to do wonders in our lives and especially in our service contribution as a teacher. So Vedas are a vast body of or compendium of knowledge ranging from all kinds of topics, from Vastu Shastra, Vimana Shastra, Ayurveda, Sthapatya Shastra, all the way up to knowing about Adhyatma Shastra. In India especially, which is the land of these Vedas, it has been our tradition that we always begin our teaching learning process with this invocation. What a powerful meaning does it have? Sahana Vavatu, the teacher and the student are praying, may we be protected together in our consciousness as we continue our study. Sahanau Bhunaktu, may we enjoy our studies together. Sahaviryam Karabhavahai, may we perform powerful activities, being empowered by our study. And Tejasvinavadhitamastu, may our intelligence become sharp, purified, and especially brilliant with this study. Ma Vidvishavahai, and may we give up envy towards all living beings and develop service attitude to meaningfully serve the society. So in this way, the purpose of education in India was not just to mint some money or get some social stature, but it was actually to cause heart transformation and social contribution. Now, coming to today's topic, these Vedas, as I said, come from the word with, which means to know. And they describe to us what has happened in the past, what's happening now in the present, and what will happen in future. That's meaning of with, to know, Veda, knowledge. These Vedas describe that as there is this cycle of Satya, Dwapara, Treta, Kali, which is a cosmic time scale along the lines of which the whole universal creation functions. In certain scientific and Judeo-Christian models, time is considered linear. That's why the theories like, from Big Bang to black hole, they come into picture. Vedic understanding is not like that. According to Vedic understanding, time is cyclic, not linear. So creation, maintenance, destruction goes on eternally. Bhutva bhutva praliyate, Bhagavad Gita says. And therefore, we have to learn in which time zone am I right now situated in. According to Vedas, that's Kali Yuga, the most of all degraded times. And yet, we are to do something wonderful in this hard time that we are going through. What do you mean hard time? Why is this age, Kali Yuga, called age of forgetfulness? Please repeat after me. Prayena alpayusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge janaha manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadrutaha. Can someone loudly read the translation?
O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short-lived lives. There are for some lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed.
Quite a precise description of personalities. What kind of difficulties will they be undergoing in this day and age? Alpa Yushaha means short lives. Of course, we may say that we have science and technology that has medicines and other facilities, life support systems. We have increased lifespan. But that's not true. If you think of it, our grandfathers used to live 90, 100, 105 years. No teeth falling, no specks on their eyes. It's often even not hair turning grey. I had my grandfather, Sheshavacharya. He lived 96 years old. That's not the case anymore. People are dying even at the age of 35, 40 with heart attacks. And this will increase as the time progresses. Next characteristic of Kali Yuga Vasis is Mandaha. They are very lazy. Lazy about what? Especially lazy about spiritual life. Who am I? What is this creation? Who is God? Why am I here? These are no priority for them to ask as a question. All other trivial questions of life become most prominent. And that is why they are called Mandaha. Then Sumandamatayaha, this is our topic today, which means poor memory. Now that's interesting. If I were to ask you, what did you eat for your breakfast last week or the same day? Yeah. You have to scratch your brain to think about it. What to speak of if I ask you certain very far-fetched questions about your life. So in modern times we have got this 1 terabyte memory disks, hard disks, and we are proud of them. Actually we should be ashamed of them. That I need a memory storage device outside of myself so that I can keep things when I need them. In the Vedic culture, just few hundreds years back, the students and the teachers were so sharp, they were called Shrutidhara. Shrutidhara means once they would hear and they would remember it for good throughout their life. And now, even after repeated teaching, people can't remember what was taught in the last class. So this is called Sumandamatayaha. Then comes Mandabhagya, unlucky. Unlucky because they have to put a lot of effort to get even small results in life. And Upadrutaha, their minds are always disturbed. And if the minds are not very much disturbed, then media, internet, mobiles, they make sure they will be disturbed. In this way, everybody is undergoing chronic restlessness in their lives. Upadrutaha. So, having heard the symptoms of people who will be born in Kali Yuga, especially the age of forgetfulness, we are now talking about improving memory. That's quite a, what we call, proposal to have. Before we get into our today's topic of memory, how to improve, I would like to give a little brief on what all has happened in our scientific background in terms of brain research. How does human brain function? And how are we to connect the functionality and neural understanding and the constructional understanding of brain in terms of improving our memory. What do you mean by functional understanding of brain? So scientists have kind of figured out that which parts of the brain are responsible for which type of activities in the body. The psychomotor and various types of areas where different functions are located within the brain areas. But the most surprising thing is how all these parts sync with each other. That is not known to modern science. Just like sometimes you have seen in the pirated movies that sometimes people watch, the soundtrack and the motion picture doesn't match sometimes with each other. So sometimes first the sound comes, dishoom, and after 2 seconds later the action happens. It sounds funny, it looks funny. Like that, it would happen if there was no sync I am speaking now, you are hearing, you are responding, everything is in sync. If this was not the case, it will become a tragic comedy, what's going on around us. So how does that happen is not known. Although which parts of the brain function in what way is very well known to modern science. That's called functional understanding. So the eyes, nose, ears, skin, tongue, their sensory signals, where do they reach in the brain, how does the brain function and respond to those signals. Now, then there is neural analysis of the brain. Neural analysis means there are the neurons that fire or misfire depending on what training have you given to your brain. So you have a way of responding to typical situations in a typical manner. I have seen in education the teacher's typical response to naughty children or running around children or indisciplined children, in earlier days at least, was to give corporeal punishment. It's inbuilt in the system. So that is called misfiring, actually. They do not know any other higher alternatives of discipline. So this is called the neural analysis, which is also well known in modern times. And a third analysis of brain that has been done in science is called as constructional analysis. Just like in our memory, there is a storage function, there is a rotatory function, there is a retrieval function. So how these functions happen inside our brain, to some extent that research has been done. And based on that, modern theories of memory improvement have come into practice. I hope this much background is enough in terms of what has happened in brain research and how does that topic connect to memory improvement techniques. Now, all said and done, modern science has gone through this great understanding development, but there is a fundamental problem with this understanding. What is that understanding? That this whole understanding of the connection of brain with the memory is one-sided. I'll give an example. We know that story of the 6 blind men and elephant. The elephant comes in the village and there are 6 blind men. And everybody catches hold of one part of the elephant and they start very assuredly, arguing with each other. Elephant is like a rope, right? Because I'm holding a tail. Elephant is like a pillar because I'm holding a leg. Elephant is like the fan because I'm holding the ear. And elephant is like a sharp arrowhead because I'm holding the tusks. So everybody is quarreling with each other. But once the person with proper vision comes and then he says elephant is all that you are saying and much more, then there may be some chance of understanding what is the true elephant. Similarly, in terms of memory, when we are talking, this understanding, the neural, the functional, or the constructional analysis of brain, which is often studied in B.Ed. M.Ed. And accordingly, the theories of learning are also proposed. I hope you have all gone through that. Is also a one-sided understanding of how to make children learn or how to make them memorize. This is not a proper full-scale understanding. The proper understanding which is given in the Vedic literatures is that our existence is three-dimensional. This understanding is that we have gross existence, subtle existence, and spiritual existence. Something like we have hardware, and then there is software, and then there is the operator who sits on the machine operating the computer. So memory works also at 3 levels. So the analysis of the brain and the brain research that we talked about in terms of memory improvement is on which side of this paradigm? Only the gross side. It is not wrong, but it is incomplete. And to make attempts only at that level to improve memory will always be a short-sighted effort. It will not be very effective. Therefore, it is important that we understand the three levels of memories that we have. Now you may say, wow, this is an interesting one. Three levels of memories. So one level of memory is at the brain level, how we rewire our brain for success or performance. That's one way of looking at it. So I recently saw an interesting research work done on brain. Those who are chronic liars, they lie. Their white matter is more than their grey matter in the brain. And those who are normal people who are truthful, their grey matter is more than the white matter in the brain. Now you may say, iska connection kya hai? I don't know how many of you really study educational psychology regularly. It's a wonderful thing to study, especially for teachers. To be in touch with educational psychology. So, what happens is, if you ask me a question, what did you eat yesterday? And if I'm truthful to you that I ate rice and dal and that's it, there was nothing much I had. Then for me, I have to just go, imagine a library that has got many books stacked in rows, in various racks. All I need to do is to pick up one book, rice, and pick up another book, dal, and offer that information to you that this is what I did. But if I'm a liar, if I lie, what happens? I think in my heart, how can I tell them that I'm so simple in my living? I have to boast that yesterday night I went for a party in Aurora Towers, and there were other friends who had invited me, and then we had this macaroni and pizza and pasta and whatnot. All kind of stories you cook up. And we went for a movie, and then we had this great time in our social life, and I'm at such a level in my financial as well as social contacts. I met the mayor of Pune and all that kind of a thing, if I have to do. Then what is happening, I'm actually going from earlier created information and impressions. I'm just drawing randomly many things. But for that I have to create many walkways. And then finally I bring that information to you. And then another question if you ask me after that, so which car did you drive? Oh, because I never drove a car there. Then again another whole set of, lying comes into picture. Image or information retrieval which is not needed. So the pathways are compared to white matter and the actual loaded books are compared to grey matter. So if you are a perpetual liar, the white matter is more than the grey matter. You are getting what I am saying? So this is the connection of these simple principles. We talk about truthfulness and value education and this and that. But unfortunately, unless we are given such a kind of a demo of a very gross effect, people generally don't appreciate that I have to live truthfully. This is a problem. But any case, thanks to science, we have some gross explanations of everything that is happening around. Now, the brain research part is relating to this gross understanding of memory, but Vedas go 2 steps further. They describe to us that there is subtle memory. Now we have got subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego, man, buddhi, ahankara. And our memory is also present in this level. To give an example, of course I can't show you, or none of you can show me, the subtle body that we have. Do we have a mind? Yeah. Do we have intelligence? But can somebody show, here is 1 kilogram of intelligence, my intelligence? No, it's not possible, it is not gross. So, we need to figure out how this memory functions. Now first of all, what is the proof that such a memory exists? Somebody may ask. So you might have noticed that there is presence of birth defects, birthmarks, phobias and prodigies. These are seen things, right, around. What is the origin of these four? The origin of these four is that there is Atma, the operator, who is running the software, the subtle body, in a hardware, which is a gross body. So when at the time of death, the soul has to quit the hardware remains there lying dead, but along with the software, this Atma goes, unplugs from here and plugs in another new body and starts functioning. Therefore, if in the earlier body, if there is a certain way a person died, then those impressions are there in the subtle body, samskaras. And they create further impressions in the next gross body. To give an example, if somebody was shot dead, then if the bullet hit their temple, in the next life, they will have a birthmark at that same location. Then if somebody drowned in a water body and then died, in the next life they will have phobia of water. They fear. Some people fear height, some people fear water, some people fear fire. You have seen that? I think you have some phobia like that. So where does that come from? Because in this life we have no such a bad experience. Where is that phobia coming from? And same way there are this presence of prodigies. Prodigies means very, very young kids who are exceptional or excellent in certain fields. So I have here one video of one 4-year-old drummer. Have you heard of a 4-year-old drummer who drums? Why don't you come here? It's like you'll get to see properly. His name is Cole Marquis, and this boy, prodigy means you don't have a background in your family of anybody drumming, and in this lifetime nobody gave you a formal training about it, how to drum. But you know that art like no one else. Where does that come from? So here is the video.
He's a 4-year-old drummer from Long Beach, California, and tonight he'll be playing Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. Here's Cole Marcus.
Anyways, it's a long one, but I just wanted to make a point. What's a prodigy? Now, where does that come from? So the explanation is very simple. The software continues, the hardware remains behind, and you plug it in another hardware, the operator, the Atma. And that is why the impressions carry forward without any formal training or hereditary background of getting that in your genes. Now, can you tell me what am I exactly up to? What am I trying to convey? There is rebirth, okay. That's not my point. I'm talking about memory. Anything you learn will never go waste. Wonderful. That's not what I was intending to, but it's a wonderful point that you mentioned. Huh? We can recall our last births. That much memory training can be also given. There are people who do that through
Memory transfers.
Yeah, memory transfer, especially through hypnotism. Past life regressions. People can be made to remember. And the things that have happened wrong in the past life, which are having a bad effect now in this life, those things can also be resolved by that hypnotic regression. But that's a different topic. The basic point I'm trying to make here is there is presence of subtle memory. And we need to train it if we are to succeed. So we saw about gross memory, what to do. Then we are talking right now about subtle memory, and we need some training for that as well. Now, if we are to train our children only on the basis of the brain research, then our training of memory for them will be incomplete. We must also train them in terms of developing the subtle memory. Third level is the spiritual memory. Now you may say, what is this now? Spiritual memory means we, being spirit souls, originally belong to Kingdom of God. Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavana, the spiritual sky in which we eternally reside in a loving relationship with the Lord, in a huge family of Lord's devotees. Somehow or other, we have left that spiritual existence and have come and occupied this current body in a material existence. Please repeat. We are not human beings having spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having human experience. It's a major paradigm shift to make in our lives, how we look at our lives. So, the spiritual memory means the soul has a constitutional position in the kingdom of God as a servant of God, which he remembers. It's all-time memory that is present. But somehow or other, just like in our Hindi movies they show, right? The hero meets with an accident, his jeep falls off a cliff or something, and then he wakes up in some hospital. And then, मैं कौन हूँ? ये नहीं मैं कहाँ हूँ नहीं, मैं कौन हूँ? वही भूल गया वो. So then his mother is standing, father is standing. He says, "Beta," looking at his mother, who is this lady? Strange fellow. "बेटा मुझे पहचानते नहीं हो तुम?" Then the doctor comes, he says, "इनके मस्तिष्क पर गहरा सदमा पहुंचने के कारण इनकी याददाश्त खो गई है." And oh no, the father, mother is crying, everything is going, pathetic. So then the doctor says, "Never mind, we have some treatment for this. You have to take him home. And at home you have to give him intense experiences of happy occasions and wonderful bonding that he had with other family members. Recreate those scenes for him in real life." So then if the hero liked the gajar ka halwa, then the mother cooks it for him, and then he liked a particular jacket that he wanted to wear, the father gifts that again to him on his birthday, all that is repeated again and again. And then finally, after repeated those impressions being given to him, those original impressions get revived that are already there. And then one day he starts recognizing, this lady seems familiar. Oh, she's my mother. And then there is a grand reunion between the beta and the mummy. So we know that story, right? Similarly, happy ending. Similarly, we are belonging to spiritual sky. We have somehow come into this material world. गहरा सदमा पहुंचने के कारण हमारी याददाश्त खो गई है. We have forgotten completely who we are in our constitutional position. So the devotees of God, the prophets and the great acharyas who periodically keep coming from the kingdom of God, even the Lord himself, Sambhavami yuge yuge, he says, I come millennium after millennium, again and again, just to revive the mankind's memory of the original spiritual existence. And that is the whole purpose why we should take to spiritual practices sincerely. It doesn't matter which religion you belong to, but you must have a sincere spiritual practice. So therefore, this is spiritual memory, and if we can get in touch with the Lord who is in our own heart as Paramatma, Super Soul, then it is far easy for us to revive this memory and operate on the level of spiritual memory. How does the spiritual memory exactly work? I will come to that a little later. Now let us discuss some of the ways by which we can enhance these memories that we have. So these are typical advices given by any sane brain research fellow. Talking about the brain, if you want to improve this part of memory, which is store, recollect, memory part, first thing is physical exercise. If you're not getting sufficient physical exercise, it reduces your ability to learn, and it also reduces your storage and retrieval mechanism of memorable things. So, especially outdoor games, full scale everyday yogasana, pranayama, at least 20 minutes a day, makes a big boost in the memory. Brain functions healthier. Second is have good rest. Now, good rest means you maximize your time of sleep between 9 to 3 in the night. That's called a good rest. We last time discussed this very elaborately. That part, the more your rest pattern falls into that zone, between 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., the better you are in terms of your functionality and robust health. Then identify and treat your health problems. If you have any, especially depression and all these kind of things, mental ill health, physical ill health, they have a heavy toll they take on our brain function. So therefore we should have proper treatment that we take for this. Now, there is a simple formula in terms of a learning that happens, how to make it memory friendly. So there are 5 steps. Repeat, organize, visualize, cue and group. I'm not going to go into elaboration of this detail. What I am going to do is to give you this one document, mnemonic devices, how these things work: visual image, acrostic, acronym, rhymes and alliterations, and chunking method of loci, plus repeat, organize, visualize, cue and group. Whatever you are doing in terms of remembering that you wish to do later can be very well memorized by these methods, which I'll be emailing you. And I hope we have everybody's email address with us here, so I can send this document. I don't want to spend time on this topic because it's self-explanatory. Just read the content, you will get it. So these are some tips on how to really work on improving your memory in a gross way, on a very physical, practical level in life. Now, let's talk about our subtle memory. How to make your mind powerful so that your memory becomes robust on subtle level. And the first principle there is celibacy. Now this may be very new or kind of a sudden drastic chain of thought for you. There is a research on the brain matter and the semen matter, lecithin, the substance that makes both, is common. And the more one wastes one's purity, the more he dulls his brain. The more one conserves this energy, sexual energy, it is called urdhvareta. Urdhvareta means the semen flowing upward in a subtle form, ojas shakti, and nourishing the brain and making it robust. That person's memory, determination, enthusiasm, energy is unbeatable, who practices celibacy. Unfortunately, in modern times, celibacy is a very bad word. Huh? People think this is, kya hi hai sab, you know. So we are not saying that one has to remain celibate throughout life, at least till marriage, and within marriage, also in a regulated manner. Because by that, the creative potency which we are wasting downwards will come upwards, and one becomes creative at another level. Mozart, Beethoven, you know, all these great geniuses, they were celibates. Even our Mahatma Gandhi and many other personalities, even our current Prime Minister. So we know that when you practice this very nicely, you actually conserve energy and you can do wonders in this world. Why do you think are all degrees called bachelor's degree? Bachelor's degree of commerce and bachelor's degree of engineering. That goes to show that there is some deep connection between being a bachelor and being a student, and a good learner. And that is why we have to train our children in such a way that although the man-woman interaction, the romance energy, is a very, very important and a high-grade energy, they first need to be trained how to harness that energy before they get into that relationship. Imagine you don't know how to handle traction lines, 40,000 kilovolt, khatra. They put that kauti and two crossbones on the train traction lines. And you have not taken any training as an electrical engineer and you want to go and play with that energy. You take a screwdriver and want to figure out what's going on here. What will happen? You will become a charcoal. In the same manner, if you don't know how to harness the sexual energy or the interaction between man and woman, that energy, how it functions and how to harness it, and you go and handle that, you make a mess out of your life, usually. And how many of our students have done that successfully in the past? Even up to the level of committing suicides. This is how crazy it goes. So we are not propagating that everybody has to become brahmachari. That's not the topic. The topic is, still you are in a student life, you have to conserve your purity. And when you get married, you are allowed to beget children, to have a family, all that is okay. But work while you work, play while you play. Huh? Don't mix two things in between each other. So this is a very important training we should give to all our children, as parents, as teachers, and explain them properly what it is. Sometimes our boys also come and tell me that, oh, I feel so attracted to this girl, that girl, so many things are going on in my head, what should I do now? And I say, well, just hold. There is a time for that in due course. But if you can hold it now, you will become powerful later, in future. So this is one important concept in terms of making our subtle memory powerful. What is that? Practice continence. And there is another research document, physiological value of continence. There is a scientist called Bernard, I'm forgetting his name, who has given a very documented research on this, that if you conserve your sexual energy, you become powerful in terms of learning, growth, strength, vitality, contribution, etc. And the second improvement for subtle memory improvement, of course in modern times people have this Shankha, Pushpi and Brahmi, these two Ayurvedic medicines. Sometimes parents tend to ingest them in extra doses, into their children, thinking that इसके द्वारा इसका memory improve होएगा, फिर थोड़ा intelligence आएगा, all that.
I got a question on my mind.
Question.
Yeah, in olden days, they used to get married so soon. Why?
Good question. In earlier days, the boy would be married at around 16, the girl would be married at around 12. The purpose was to make their mind get fixed on each other and then no more searching around in the society after that. You become peaceful. You have somebody. But they were not allowed to stay together till they mature. The marriage is fixed, marriage does happen, but the girl stays with her parents, the boy stays with his parents, and the girl periodically goes and meets the boy and serves him. Till they attain 18, 20, that age, and then she makes a gradual shift. And by that, what would happen? Through service, the bond that would develop between husband and wife would be so strong. And because that's the first person that they came in touch with in their life, their mind will be so attached, so fixed, that they would never think of adultery. So that was the basis, the background for that arrangement. We are not recommending child marriage. The point is why they did what they did. So they never had union, sexual union, before they became mature. That was not allowed in the Vedic culture. Anyways, so there are two more positive enhancers. One was, I was telling these Ayurvedic medicines, they subtly improve your memory. But if you are taking Shankha Pushpi and Brahmi and all that, but not following the other formulas that we have explained till now, not exercising regularly, not practicing celibacy, not doing this, how do you expect that one thing to work from Ayurveda's side? And when that doesn't work, you say, oh, Ayurveda is bogus. Who is bogus? You know. So that is why we have to follow everything in toto to get best results. And then the third most powerful input for the subtle body to transform is called satsanga. To give quality association of well-charactered people to our children. Character is what you do when nobody is watching you. So we have to really realign ourselves in our life. What do we do in our public life, private life and secret life has to be aligned. And such association, when our children get through us as a teacher, they become powerful themselves. That is called real satsanga. Kusanga or bad association is equally detrimental for memory. As I said, that one example of lack of truthfulness, how your white matter increases in the brain and the grey matter becomes dull. So instead of having actual nice impressions stored, you have more pathways, that you have space that you have created in the brain. So we need substance, and that usually comes through satsanga, good association. Now let's talk a little about spiritual level of memory and how to improve it. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Please repeat after me. Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishto matta smrutir jnanam apohanam cha vedesya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Someone please read translation.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
So this is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, shloka 15. This verse is a very powerful verse. It's giving us an interesting clue into memory. Mattaha smruti jnanam apohanam cha. From me, Lord Krishna says, who is situated in your heart as Paramatma, sarvasya cha aham hrudi sannivishtaha. I am staying in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Mattaha, from me, smruti jnanam apohanam. Memory, knowledge and forgetfulness. How many of you this experience that you meet a person after many days, you know him, you know his name, you know everything about him, but at that moment you are not remembering. It's on your tip of the tongue. And there's a pehchana. And they're very expectantly looking at you and you don't know, you feel, how bad he will feel if I tell him now I don't remember your name, who you are. So what is happening, although that samskara is there, the connection is not being made, right? We all have that experience. As students, you might have had also this experience, just like your current students have, is that you have studied something 10 minutes before you enter into the exam hall. And that same question also has come in the paper. But you don't remember anything. You have seen this? You are sitting there and you are apparently happy that same paper question also had come, but you don't remember anything. You are looking at it and you are going completely blank. I am not remembering anything. How can this be? How many of you this experience? Okay, everybody, practically. So this is how Paramatma in the heart, based on our past desires and our past karma, past activities, he is actually sanctioning what will happen in present. What can you recollect, what you cannot recollect. So if we strongly establish our connection with the Lord in the heart, then we will be at an advantage that will always remember exactly at the time of need what we need to remember. He will supply that memory to us. He being our best friend in the heart. Surhudam sarvabhutanam. Krishna says, I am the best friend of all living beings. And I am situated in everyone's heart, guiding their activities. It is just like you have this experience that we have some past memories, we want to forget them. You have some such memories like that? Somebody did something wrong to you or some negative experiences and you want to forget them. And they are like haunting on you. You think, every time I remember this person or that incident, my heart becomes small. What should I do? So, as an operator, I have only X degree of control over my computer. The software and the hardware of it. Yes.
This is related to the same thing I was thinking in the morning, that when Lord Krishna, he resides in everyone's heart and he makes us remember whatever we want to remember at the right time. If we are not wanting to do the sins, why is he not preventing us from doing that? And why is he giving us the other
freedom to do whatever we want to.
No, not freedom. The sins which, why is he not preventing us from doing the sins? Why we are made to take another one rebirth?
Correct. Why does Lord allow us to sin? Actually, it's like a child who has become drug addict and the parents have tried their best to keep all the money away from him and all the whatever way he can get the drugs in his life away from him. But he is so hell-bent. And if he doesn't get it, he becomes violent. He starts doing horrible things at home, terrible relationship crisis with people around. So at times, it is not willingly, but highly reluctantly. The parents may sanction the so-called notorious activity of a child. I don't know whether you have experiences like that in your own relationship somewhere, that somebody is into womanizing or drinking or smoking. Parents are aware of it. But then what can they do? This fellow is so hell-bent on doing all these kind of things. So in the same manner, because love means freedom, you have to give the other person full choice whether they want to love you back or not. So God has also given us minute independence. We are part and parcels coming from God. God is fully independent. We share His quality of having some minute independence. But as long as there is independence, free will, there is also equally the chance of misusing that free will. That risk also is there. Because without that free will, true love cannot develop. If somebody puts a stain gun on your head and says, so, do you love me? So what option is there? So we need freedom to choose. So that's why God has given freedom. But along with that freedom, the flop side also comes that we may misuse that freedom. So that we are not robotic in our love for God. It's not like it's all pre-programmed and there is no spontaneity and there is no... That kind of love nobody likes. Forced love. So this is the problem of free will. At the same time, God has given us satsanga, God has given us sadhana, spiritual practices. God has given us scriptures. God has given us periodic contact with wisdom and practices through our spiritual teachers. We are supposed to use that and always use our free will properly. And that is the purpose. So God has tried His best to not make us misuse our free will. But still we are hell-bent on misusing it. इतना सारा पता होने के बाद जानबूझ के हम गड़बड़ करते हैं. So we cannot blame that on God. We have to take the blame on ourselves. Anyways, the point I was making is, you have a question? Sorry. Yes.
Just now you mentioned that we have those bad memories related to this. Is there any way we can get rid of them?
Exactly, that's the topic I'm coming to. I was explaining that point when this question came. So we have some bad memories also, we want to get rid of them. It is not that everything is wonderful and memorable. So what do? Here is the clue from this shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Mattaha smrtir jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes memory, knowledge and forgetfulness. So as I was giving this example, I may have a limited control over my laptop, its software and hardware. But Bill Gates, who manufactured my laptop, has far more control over it. And he exactly knows how it functions than what I know about it. So although I have a hardware, software and operator, it's better that I go back to the manufacturer and get certain things fixed in my life. You're getting what I'm saying? So if you have such memories that you really want to forget, the best thing you can do is to reconnect yourself with the Lord in the heart through sincere spiritual practices. Sadhana means a daily connection with God, a daily relationship with God. And when we revive that relationship and Lord's grace comes into our lives, we can actually do more and wonderful things. And that is why, for spiritual memory to get activated, we have to practice daily spiritual culture. Then the Lord will start intervening in your life and you will have wonderful experiences. To give you just 2 experiences I will give you from personal life. One is, every time I sometimes go late night due to some programs or whatever I have. And the next day we have to at 4 o'clock Mangalarti. And you feel, oh no, it's so late. How will I wake up the next day in the morning? So just before resting, you pray to the Lord in the heart. Tomorrow I want to get up at 3:45 a.m. so that with vigor I can render my services to you. Lord, please wake me up. And I have this experience that without alarm clock, dot at 3:45 time I wake up. I don't know whether you have this as a personal experience in your own lives. So this is one thing. Secondly, nowadays there is this cloud technology. People put everything they put on cloud. क्योंकि वो खुद के memory में नहीं रख सकता है. And you also want to have that memory accessible wherever you are. So like that, Paramatma is also a transcendental cloud. Whatever things that you want to recollect at the right time, you leave it on Him. You basically work on becoming a sincere devotee of God, and then you leave it on Him. And you tell Him, see, I have tried my best to study, I have tried my best to memorize, I have tried my best to whatever I can do. Now please, I request you, if it is good for my service to you, let me recollect these things when I need them the most. And you will have this experience that if you genuinely practice spiritual culture, you will get a reciprocation in your life. And for this connection between us and the Lord to be well established, we have to go through the medium of a guru, a spiritual master. Just like Karna, he tried to cheat his guru in trying to get Vidya, Dhanur Vidya. And when Parshuram came to know that Karna cheated me, he cursed him. Right at the time when you need this, you will forget it. So this is why it is equally important that we cultivate proper attitudes and service towards our superiors in such a way that we get their sincere blessings. And through that we can actually remember and do the needful in crucial moments of our life. Another classic story that comes in the Puranas is the story of Gajendra, the elephant. This Gajendra was a very powerful elephant. In his earlier life, he was a king called Indradyumna. But somehow he misbehaved with some sage, or the sage felt that he has misbehaved. So he got a curse. Become an elephant, you are a dull-headed fellow. So when Indradyumna became this Gajendra, the king of all elephants, it is said that he went for a picnic with his family in the Mandakini Ganga. And at that time a crocodile caught hold of his leg. And there was a big battle between the crocodile and this elephant for many, many years. And this elephant eventually started becoming weak because he is not an animal of water body. The crocodile was in water, so he was stronger. And as Gajendra started becoming weaker, in his helpless condition, he could recollect. This is that example of spiritual memory. who he was in his past life and the prayers especially that he used to offer to the Lord. And he started offering those very same prayers as an elephant in this life. And at that time from Garuda Airlines, Lord Vishnu appeared on the scene. And then he cut off the head of that crocodile. And he revived this Indradyumna, the king, and he sent him back to spiritual world. And that crocodile also regained his earlier body of a Gandharva by the name Hu. And he also went back to his own abode, becoming a great devotee of the Lord. So this Gajendra Moksha is a very, very beautiful pastime that indicates to us that whatever we learn in our spiritual life, this one class that you attended, the one chanting that you did, the one visit you gave to the temple, whatever, remains in your permanent eternal bank account. And the most crisis time of your life, it will come to your help. And that is why we should not only build our physical memory in terms of brain research and corresponding work, we should also build our subtle memory and more importantly our spiritual memory. The more we work on this, we will be at a better position in tackling the problems of our life. So now then the natural question comes, how do we connect with the Lord in the heart to revive our spiritual memory? And that is effectively done through mantra meditation. As I said, when we chant God's holy names, God's name being identical with His personality, we are actually associating with the Lord. And that is why we request you to sincerely on a daily basis adopt this basic sadhana practice of chanting God's holy names daily. That will go a long way in building everything else in your life. So at this point of time, if you allow me, we would like to chant. Can you get a chair, please? Chanting has basic 3 P's: posture, pronunciation, prayerful mood. Posture means we sit erect in our seats, wherever we are. Spine 90 degrees to the ground. Pronunciation, we clearly pronounce the mantra and hear it attentively. And the meaning of the mantra has to be kept in the mind. O Hare, O Krishna, O Rama, the supreme reservoir of all pleasure. Please let me connect to you. Please let me love you. Please let me serve you. That is the meaning of this prayer. And then finally, prayerful mood. Just like a small baby cries for its mother, we should learn to sincerely call out the names of God. And if we do it with sincerity, we will experience 4 immediate results in our life: healthy body, stress-free mind, sharp intelligence, and jolly soul. These are the practical benefits of mantra meditation. So I now humbly request you to sit properly, to utter clearly, to hear attentively, and involving your heart, chant prayerfully. Together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Slowly open your eyes. Thank you. So that was a brief on improving memory in the age of forgetfulness. So I hope this makes some sense. If there are any questions, you may personally ask during our break time, prasadam break. And my only request to all of you is follow this simple formula. Half an hour a day and 2 hours per weekend. Keep for yourself. The secret of doing good to others is to secretly do a lot of good to yourself. Half an hour a day, what do you do? 10 minutes, study Bhagavad Gita or whatever scripture. 10 minutes, mantra meditation, chant God's holy names. And 10 minutes, write and plan your day's activities. As a family man, as a teacher, as a spiritual practitioner, as a friend or a relative, what all you want to do today in the day. And daily make this as a practice. And with that prayerful, empowered heart, you start rendering your day into a wonderful service offering. So if you follow this simple formula, half an hour a day, 2 hours per weekend, you will gain immense benefit. Thank you.